Hello everyone. Today we'll be taking a look at Lens Spaces. Lens Spaces is a centralized cloud-based offering provided by Team Lens on top of Lens IDE, the desktop application, that allows our users to securely share access to Kubernetes clusters with their colleagues from anywhere to anyone, all in real time, very easily. To get started, you'll have to create a user account. The reason for this, again, is because Lens Spaces is a centralized cloud-based offering on top of Lens, the open source IDE. Meaning to access this feature, we'll have to create an account. To do so, you'll need Lens 5 at the bare minimum to be downloaded. So go to Lens, click About Lens, and ensure that you're leveraging at least Lens 5. Here we can see I'm leveraging Lens 5.13. From here, you're going to want to log into Lens. To do so, you click Lens Login. It's immediately going to open your browser and direct you to Lens Spaces signup. There's several ways you can do so. You can sign up via GitHub, Google, and you can create an account. Because I already have an account, I'm just going to log in. And in just a moment, I'll be logged into my Lens Spaces account. And Lens, the desktop application, can see that I'm now logged in on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Now that I'm logged in, let's browse our clusters in our catalog. We'll take a look at our clusters. We'll open them. We'll take a look at my GKE cluster and, of course, my Minikube cluster. We'll launch these clusters and connect them to Lens, the desktop application. We can see how this cluster is performing, the nodes that are associated to, right? The settings, if we choose to do so, and so forth. In order to share one of these clusters with a team member or colleague, or anyone that needs access to this cluster, I'll need to create a space. There's several ways you can create a space. You can navigate to your catalog, scroll down to Spaces, and hit the plus icon, and this will automatically allow you to create a space very, very easily. Or you can navigate to your username on the bottom right-hand side of your screen and click Add Space. The space I'm going to create is going to be called Code Cloud Demo 1. Now click Enter. We have now created a space called Code Cloud Demo 1. From here, there's several things I can do. I can jump into the settings of this space and make some configuration changes if I choose to do so. For example, I can give it a display name, Developer Clusters. Let's say that this space is only meant for my developers, right? So every cluster within this space are for developers. We can give it a description. Clusters in this space are specific to developers. We can update the profile. Our profile has been updated. We can choose a image if we want, and so forth. From here, I'm actually going to invite a member to my space. The reason we need to invite a member to our space is this is going to allow them to have secure access to whatever lives within that space. Currently, the only thing supported are Kubernetes clusters. Meaning if I invite a member to this space and I share a Kubernetes cluster to that space, they'll have access to that Kubernetes cluster. There's several ways you can invite a member to your space. You can invite them by username or email, or you can invite them with a direct access link by clicking the icon I just did. I'm not going to invite them via link. I'm actually going to invite a dummy account via username. To do so, you'll type in their username or email. This one is Tester Edward. Yes, this is a dummy account that I created. And I'll click Enter. The invite has been sent to my dummy account, and now they will be able to accept the invite and actually have access to whatever lives within this space. Currently, if we select this space, Code Cloud Demo 1, nothing lives within this space. To be able to add a Kubernetes cluster securely to Code Cloud Demo 1, I'll navigate to my Kubernetes clusters, and for this use case, I'll use my Minikube cluster, and I'll click the Share Cluster icon on the top right-hand side of the screen. Clicking this icon immediately gives me the ability to choose which space I would like to add my Kubernetes cluster to. For demonstration purposes, we'll add it to the space that I just created, which is Code Cloud Demo 1. I'll click this, and then we'll install Cluster Connect and share the Kubernetes cluster to our space. Cluster Connect is quite simple. It's the technology that allows us to securely share access to a Kubernetes cluster with our colleagues. Long story short, it combines a client-side reverse proxy and WebSocket tunnels and an end-to-end encryption to expose your Kubernetes API to the users. Meaning, it creates a secure tunnel from our user's desktop computer to the Kubernetes API. I think that's quite important to know. And it creates that end-to-end encryption, and the daemon set, the cluster connect, the Boardee daemon never sees the traffic that it's tunneling. It's absolutely encrypted, and it creates that secure tunnel from the user's desktop to the Kubernetes API. You can learn more about Cluster Connect and Boardee by clicking this link here, which will immediately launch our Cluster Connect documentation page, where you can read and review the architecture of how Cluster Connect is industry secure. It meets all industry standards to ensure that sharing Kubernetes clusters with this space are secure. Excellent. From here, we're actually going to click Install Cluster Connect and Share. And once this is done, we've actually now shared our Minikube Kubernetes cluster to our Lens space, which is Code Cloud Demo 1. So now anybody that has access to that space, Code Cloud Demo 1, will be able to have access to our Kubernetes cluster. I do want to note that access is read-only, and individuals can create specific teams within the space to give much more granular access to that Kubernetes cluster. To do so, what you would do is you would go to Catalog, navigate back to your space, Code Cloud Demo 1, open it, go to Teams, and you'd create a team. You'd create a team maybe called Developers, and from here, you can go into the role binding and give specific access to this developer team to your Kubernetes cluster. Meaning, if I want my developer team to only have access to the monitoring namespace, I can do so. Excellent. From here, now that we've shared our cluster to our space, we're going to log out of my account and log into my demo account, my dummy account Lens space. We'll log out. We can immediately see that cluster is gone now, right? The Lens space's Minikube cluster. We can see the source is only local, and we no longer have that Lens space's Minikube cluster. We're going to click Lens Login. We'll be navigated back to that Lens Login screen. I'll log into my dummy account. We'll navigate back to our desktop application, and we can see we're logged into Tester Edward, in the bottom right-hand side on the screen. We can also see that we have some spaces here, only one, which is the Tester Edward space. But we do know that we've been invited to a space. And to be able to view the invitation to the space, we'll go to Tester Edward. We'll click My Profile. We'll navigate down to Spaces. And we can see that we've been invited to Code Cloud Demo 1. Navigating back to our clusters, I want to make this apparent. We can only see two clusters here. We can see the GKE cluster and the Minikube cluster. Both sources are local, right? And this is because they are on my desktop, on my computer, and they're connected to my desktop application Lens IDE. Now, navigating back to my profile and the spaces I've been invited to, I'm going to accept this invitation. And now I can see two spaces. There's the Tester Edward default space, and then there's the clusters Code Cloud Demo space, right? Clusters in this space is specific to developers. I'll close this. And now within our cluster screen, we can see three clusters. Earlier, we only saw two when I did not accept the invitation, meaning I could see my GKE clusters very easily. I can see my Minikube cluster. And now I see a third cluster, which the space is Lens Spaces. And the space it's associated to is Code Cloud Demo 1. Clicking on this, it's going to open up the cluster that was shared with me via the Code Cloud Demo 1 space directly to my desktop application. Meaning if I'm a developer that needs access to a Kubernetes cluster to review the microservices, I can get access from a colleague, a team member, a cluster administrator via Lens Spaces. So I do not need to utilize kubeconfig files, VPNs, work behind firewalls and NATs, and really jump through all of these security risks that there is when sharing access to a Kubernetes cluster. Lens takes care of all of this for us. Lens Spaces does this in a very secure fashion, leveraging specific technologies that we can feel proud and ensured that our cluster is secure. So this is Lens Spaces. Again, it's a centralized cloud-based offering on top of Lens IDE, the desktop application, that allows us to securely share Kubernetes clusters with team members and colleagues securely. Thanks for your time today. I hope you enjoyed and viewed how we can share access to a Kubernetes cluster securely. Thank you.